Tomlin's doing this weird thing this year where he pays respect to a veteran player on another team by not referring to them by name, but calling them Mr. Blank. Mr. Henry, Mr. Chubb. Now it's Mr. Garrett for Cleveland. He did that earlier today on The Fan during his press conference. Myles Garrett is the defensive equivalent to me, for me, of Lamar Jackson. In that I just have a hard time thinking the guy's great because he, for the most part, doesn't play that great against the Steelers. Or at least relative to the other great player on defense when these two teams match up, and that's Watt. And that's Garrett's big problem for me. Like, look back at week 2 this season. How many tackles did Myles Garrett have in that game? One.
He didn't have a sack. He had a lot of pressures, as charted. He's been held without a sack in 2 games this year, that one in the Niners game. It's funny, I have on my little note sheet here, people here have the same warped perception that they do of Jackson.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I didn't even see you write that down.
I'd hope not.
I'm 100% guilty of that.
If he doesn't have 3 sacks against the Steelers, he must suck, and the national media is just being mean to T.J. Watt.
Yes. I was thinking that in my head, too. That's pretty much.
The Rudolph incident informs plenty of local feelings. It actually should, I wrote. I thought what he alleged Rudolph said was bad, and it was done with no proof, and he never apologized, and the national media seized on it. Still with me?
No, that one I think I would be able to look past. If he did that and I thought the guy was just an absolute monster and ate the Steelers' offensive linemen alive and haunted their quarterbacks and took their soul, I would admit that even after that ugly incident. That didn't help his popularity here by any means.
Does it matter that he played well against Baltimore, 1.5 sacks this past week. Let's see. The other Baltimore game, granted, they got crushed, but he had a sack. Against Cincy, a sack.
But one of the things...
Seattle's a good team, a sack.
I know that it's not the end-all, be-all because the guy's got every record and stat and everything. But one of the things you've held against Ben is that he, for the most part, in games, struggled against Brady. You put those two guys in the same stadium, they go head-to-head against each other, even though they're not playing against each other. It's not like they're guarding each other in basketball or a pitcher facing a hitter. Brady gets the better of Ben most of the time, plays better than Ben. Same thing here with Watt and Garrett.
So what, you think edge rushers should be judged the same way we judged quarterbacks? Like
when they're in the same stadium and they're, in theory, the same way that Ben would, okay, I've got to be on my A game because I'm going against Tom. He's the gold standard at my position. Same thing with these two guys. Yeah.
Should it matter how one guy might get blocked versus another guy as far as like sheer number of players allocated?
I mean, do you feel like the Steelers tackles are the type of guys where you would want to cut Myles Garrett some slack because of the matchup?
Overall, I think teams block Garrett with like an exceptional volume of players that they don't necessarily use for Watt simply because they can't afford to because the guy opposite him is really good too.
Well, did you hear Mike Tomlin talk about Zadarius Smith today and how he's such a tough customer in the AFC North?
Did he call him Mr. Smith? Then he must not be that tough of a customer. I'd like for Mike, the week leading up to the Ravens game, to say, instead of Mr. Jackson, Miss Jackson, then go, whoo.
But, Chris, the stats when they face each other, though, aren't even close.
Okay, yeah, Watt outplays him when they play each other.
But by a massive margin. I mean, it's not – they both played 11 games against each other.
Then I guess he's better than Garrett and Kenny's better than Lamar, and then we can just settle all this. But, I mean, I think it's just a myopic way to look at the player.
No, but I'm not just saying here's T.J. Watt's record against the Browns.
No, I understand.
I'm saying
he personally
here are the
outplays
numbers.
him. Yes, yeah. I'm aware.
It's 16 sacks to 7. It's 28 quarterback hits to 16. It's an interception and a touchdown for Watt and 3 forced fumbles for Garrett. I mean, it's a blowout.
Well, the touchdown is more of a luck thing for Watt because he picked up a fumble.
You got to Johnny on the spot. It's right place, right time.
Luck. I mean, Garrett's on pace for, 21 sacks this year? 8 forced fumbles this year? He has recovered a fumble. His was not lucky, clearly. It was all skill.
Was it against the Steelers? No.
So what happens if he destroys the Steelers' game plan? That's one notch in the belt for him?
Yeah, it would be. I'm still waiting on it. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. I'm waiting for these two guys to take over games against the Steelers.
I guess, again, you've got to just give Mike Tomlin a ton of credit, as I know you enjoy doing.
I got to tip my cap to the offensive line coaches here. Pat Meyer.
Matt Canada, too.
Matt Canada by extension,
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I told you, I'm turning over a new leaf on
yes,
Canada.
Very new leaf. Oh, that leaf, man. This other side of this leaf is pale. It's not seen the light of day from you. I just think Steelers fans, like, it's a popular thing to do, to rip Jackson because he doesn't play well, and to rip Garrett, and to like lull yourself into this idea. Yeah, like, I think if you're a Steelers fan who basically dogs this guy and says he's not even close to the player TJ Watt is.
Well, he's not when they're in the same stadium together.
Yes, but people don't make that distinction. If you're somebody that says he couldn't hold Watt's jockstrap in general, then I think anybody that might nationally see you tweet that or say that out into the ether thinks you're a complete idiot, and would be, I think, right to do so.
I think Watt is better than Garrett. I don't think it's...
If Watt's a 10 out of 10 as an edge guy, what's Garrett? On the 1 to 10 rating system, you can go half points and quarter points.
8.5, 9.
8.5. I think he's at worst a 9.75 if Watt's a 10.
Well, do you even have it? 10 to 9.75. Do you still have Garrett as your defensive player of the year?
No, I think Garrett is still my vote. Yeah. Watt got pretty silenced against the Packers, except for one late
one
play?
sack.
One sack, but I mean he was held off.
He got a sack. He got in there when it counted.
Oh, and it was a very meaningful sack.
It was.
Highsmith, I thought, had the most meaningful pass rush of the day.